I think this is a really interesting debate. I'm vegan, and I wouldn't normally, I know the joke is that, people, vegans always tell you that within 2 minutes, but I have to tell you that for the purpose of this conversation. I certainly don't hate vegetarians. I am probably naturally a Labour voter, but what puts me off Labour a little bit is the fact that Starmer is a vegetarian but not a vegan. It says something to me about his character, that kind of sitting on the fence thing, and I don't know why he doesn't go the whole way and become a vegan. So I suppose, although I haven't got a hatred of vegetarians, I don't understand why. It's a bit like being bisexual rather than gay. It's a bit like being on the highway to gaydom, really, isn't it? I don't know.
Careful. Oh, you're going to alienate a lot of people with that comment.
Well, but would you not see it that way? I don't know.
Well, I kind of do see it that way a bit, but it's still seen to be a bit sort of a controversial thing to say.
If you knew Scottish history, you wouldn't be arguing stupid things like what you're arguing.
Yeah, but William, you lost. You lost, William.
You've really got me riled up.
Oh dear. Go on, Paul. Why?
It's not a futile effort for independence. I wasn't going to vote for independence if there ever is a vote. But now, after your comments, I will.
Oh, why? Why is that? Why have what I've said?
We're not a futile nation.
Do you understand the Barnett formula?
Yes, I do.
Understand the Barnett
Rachel,
formula.
let's explain it properly.
Inflation, it's getting less and less every year.
Rachel, let's explain it properly.
But why would you be working in your house, working hard, doing what you're supposed to do, apparently you're in this union, and the other person next door gets to do all the borrowing, gets to sort out all the finances. Scotland's current parliament only has powers over 8% of the laws and what we can legislate for.
Yeah, but you're still not engaging me. Yeah, but you're still not engaging me on 37%. You get about 41 billion back.
This is independence
a lot more.
in a nutshell.
A lot more.
This is independence.
Yeah, but Rachel,
we're giving you something. Oh, isn't that kind of you, Ali?
You're having your kitchen refitted, yeah?
Yes.
The bloke's been in there. He's a little fella with trousers that are too short.
Right.
He's been in there for 8 months fitting your kitchen.
Yes.
You come home from work today. He's up to his knees in water. There's still holes in the plasterboard. None of the cabinets are done. There's doors falling off.
Yes.
And you say, mate, you've had 4 months to do this kitchen.
Yep.
And he says, no, don't get another bloke to do it because I can do a better job or I'll be back in the morning. All right, Gov.
But that bloke, unfortunately, had a terrible pandemic. He was very, very ill for a while. And also his business suffered quite a cash shortage with problems across the economy.
Exactly, because
and his best mate's off fighting a war.
He will tell you, Nick, he will tell you that everything down to your kitchen not being finished is nothing to do with him. It's not his fault. The van broke down, the stuff weren't delivered, he's got a bad knee. That is the Conservative government. They will blame everyone else. Nothing is their fault,
right?
And everything is rack and ruin, and you know it.
Is it going to be better with Keir Kitchens?
Who cares? Who cares?
The very fact that we're supposed to be grateful to these people. I mean, I always say, how can you... They always say it's about duty and service.
Yes.
How can you be among the richest people on the planet and need to be paid huge sums of money to do a job that many people would give their eye teeth to do? You know, they consider it work to sit in the royal box at Wimbledon and on finals day. No one else on earth would consider that work, but they say it's a duty. But
why do we fall for it then? Why do we suck it up? Why does this? I mean,
I
this
have
isn't.
No idea.
Oh, you don't? No, I don't suppose anybody has.
Well, actually, I've got one theory.
Normalness,
which is that they've got the greatest form of advertising ever, which might start to change, but everyone loves money. The earliest rulers who ever minted coins made sure that their head went on the back of it because everybody loves money. So every time you get a £5 note out of your pocket, you're looking, imagine if that said Coca-Cola instead of it had a picture of Prince Charles on it. Like, money couldn't buy that advertising. And yet we think it's perfectly normal that they're advertised to us every time we pay for something.
How are these Palestinians supposed to defend themselves when not only are the settlers attacking them, but IDF soldiers are actually watching on and encouraging them and egging them on and even snipering kids with precision shots into their heads?
Is that true?
Those are very hard accusations that have no base as a matter of fact, because...
Save the Children have reported it. I've had Human Rights Watch, I've had Amnesty International in their Crossing Thresholds report. There are multiple reports from multiple NGOs and Israeli soldiers admitting to it live on TV with Matt Fry.
Look, I'm sure you're taking your information from sources you believe are reliable, but all I can tell you is if someone is committing a crime, he should be taken to court and paid a price for it. But definitely not familiar with any fact about killing children. No Israelis
with respect, Ambassador,
are targeting children.
Jay was quoting from different reports. He was quoting reports that my very respected colleague Matt Fry has done on the issue. Matt Fry is not somebody who invents things. He does not broadcast things that are untrue. And I think just to say, well, anybody who's committed an offence can be brought before the Israeli courts is a bit of a cop-out.
This is no different from Oswald Mosley. It's no different from anybody else. And quite frankly, right, what I will say is when the economy is really bad at the minute, right, and this is rinse and repeat, just like the Nazis tried to do with the Jews, just like everybody does. Every time the economy goes poor, we all blame the immigrants. We all blame that. Well, you know what? Give me thousands of immigrants and I want to ship these lot out. I don't want these lot. They're not part of me. I felt so ashamed. I was crying. I watched them white people smash that black place in Manchester. That really upset me. You're not doing that in my name. You're not doing that in my name. I'll tell you what, and any good British person, right, should be stood up now. We always say that when Islam do their thing, we always say Muslims should stand up. Well, you know what? We should stand up and say, you are not doing that in my name.
I think the Conservative Party, no matter who you elect, has no future. The party needs to politically die. Wow. Because you're facing two problems. You've got reform, which previous caller obviously mentioned, are outflanking you on issues like migration and ECHR. Then you've got the fact that anybody born under the age of 40 today is pretty much guaranteed not to vote for you. They're a generation that grew up under 14 years of Conservative rule, where you've basically made every single service, everything in this country worse. And people are remembering that. I'm 31. I've never known a Labour government that, I could remember reasonably. And this is the first time I've ever been hopeful that a government's going to do anything for me. And I know hundreds of people who are the exact same that have, for once in their lives, said, and thank God they got elected. And I've never known that before, even with Boris Johnson.
Well, thank you very much. I mean, it's very interesting, the younger vote, and definitely something we saw in this election was a low turnout.
I have a child with my first cousin. Oh. We were together for 6 years. And the one thing that's not been mentioned is you just fall in love. I live in England. I went to Australia to meet my family, and I fell in love with my cousin. We're not together anymore, but I spoke to him this morning, even before this, because we're still best of friends. And people are talking about the Pakistani community and travellers. We're from a Jewish background. Okay. And what we did before even contemplating it, we went to see a professor at the University of Sydney about the possibilities of what could happen if there was, Tay-Sachs is a big thing in the Jewish community when you come from a little tiny village somewhere and you've all grown up together. And we had our test and we were both negative. So I think we were responsible to do that, because it was if I had it or he had it, it was 50-50. We were both negative. So we went ahead and we've got a 35-year-old daughter together.
Perfectly healthy.
And it's the thing that people forget is you fall in love with who you fall in love with.
You don't like me?
No, I think you're really, really nasty to pensioners. My view, Tommy, is like, I worked for 50 years.
Pat.
I paid in.
You did.
I scrimped and scraped. I bought my own house.
Thank you.
And now I'm being penalised. Or I don't need the fuel allowance.
Okay.
But I know a lot of people that do. And then when you see people coming in the country, and in my opinion, Tom, I'm not saying it's true, in my opinion, they're economic migrants, most of them. They're taking out. They're draining everything in this country. And every time one comes in, it's taking something away from us. And that's how I feel. And I know you don't. You're the complete opposite to me.
Well, Pat,
And I think charity begins at home. Sorry.
No, okay. Let's start with the pensioners' point first, because I can see how that may have come across to you, and I apologise for that, Pat, because that is absolutely not my intention. My intention is not to withdraw from you your state pension. My intention is not to say that you shouldn't be in receipt of the winter fuel allowance if you need it. What I do think, though, is rich people should not be given free money. Do you agree?
I agree that, Tom. I agree. But can I just say this, Tom? I bought my house. Yes, it's gained in value. I've probably got a house worth about 900,000, right? Okay. Now, if I sell that house, Tom, tomorrow, right, where do I go? If I buy a house in my area, because my son and my grandchildren are here and I have to look after them, it will cost me $500,000 to buy a flat. Yep. And then you've got about £400 or £500 a month service charges in Brentwood.
Right.
Right? So, and it will probably cost me $40,000 to move.
I get it. Downsizing is really tough. It happens to a lot of people. I totally understand.
Yeah.
But Pat, I don't think that means that we're both wrong in thinking that it is crazy to give free money to already wealthy people. So
depends what you call wealthy, though,
I agree.
Tom. What do you call wealthy?
I agree. I think, and that's the debate, isn't it? The debate for Labour is who is considered wealthy enough not to need the winter fuel allowance. I
think Starmer just doesn't like pensioners either. They would prefer us all to die and not cost anything. But
no,
everyone's
that's not true.
Going to get old,
Pat, that's not true.
Everyone's going to get old.
Pat, he doesn't hate pensioners.
He does.
He's trying to, in theory, take money from already very wealthy pensioners and make sure that there is money there for poor pensioners.
Yeah, I agree with that. But what do you call very wealthy, Tom? Tell me that.
Well, I think if you sit on an asset worth more than, or if you have assets of more than £1 million, you're wealthy.
Yeah, but see, there again, Tom, if you look at the country as a whole, I could buy a mansion up north for the money you pay. In the southeast, we pay 10 times more than up north.
Yes, I agree.
It's like council tax. You know, we pay a fortune council because not because we think, I want a $900,000 house. We don't. We have to pay a lot. I mean, my house was $50,000, but that was a hell of a lot of money in those days.
I agree with you. I understand that.
You know?
But lots of people make the decision about how to downsize, and I still don't think that therefore means the price of your house. Therefore means that taxpayers now, some of whom cannot afford a house, won't be able to afford a house until perhaps their mid-40s, if that. Should have to pay for
to me, Tom,
the
that's
fuel bill.
Their fault.
That's their fault.
Yeah,
it's their fault that house prices are so high.
When I worked in an office up London, when I started work, my wages was about £20 a week.
Why is it a young person's fault that house prices are so high?
Because most young people today, they want holidays, they want to keep drinking coffee all day, and I'm not being nasty.
Well, you are.
Right? They don't want to sit in and save up like I did for 4 solid years.
But Pat,
they want everything. And
wages,
also, most of them are on $30,000 minimum.
Yes, true.
Right. And I paid 15% interest on my mortgage.
Yes.
Today, they get 2.5%.
Yes, but the starting price of a house to get is now 8 times higher than the average salary. It was nowhere near that in your day.
Not other places in the country. Why don't they move somewhere where it's cheaper then?
Okay, well, I'll put that to you. Why don't you move somewhere that's cheaper?
Because my son's here now, my grandchildren.
I know, but
he
young
needs
people
me to
would
look
say
after
that too. Their
them,
jobs
they both have to work full time.
Listen, Pat, we're going to agree to disagree on this one.
I know,
but I'm really grateful to you for having the chat because it's much better to talk it out on the radio. I'm sorry I've prevented you from having your dinner. I hope it's still warm.
That's all right.
Go and enjoy it.
It's in the oven. I will.
How can I help you, Sam?
I listen to you all the time. It's an absolute pleasure. I have a statutory disability under the Equalities Act of 2010. I'm getting nowhere with reasonable adjustments, and it's got to a point where I am considering legal action. What do you advise?
Right. First of all, Sam, is this in employment? Is it provision of goods or services?
Provision of goods and services, not providing auxiliary aids, and
right.
also
what goods or services?
From discrimination.
What goods or services are you trying to get hold of? What are you trying to buy?
Just like a standing desk, or moving over.
So this is employment.
Music.
This is employment.
Yes. Employment.
Employment. Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Provision of goods and services is something different. That's things like hotels or shops. But this is your job.
No, it's PCP. Excuse me.
Tell me what Sam, try not to use legal technical phrases. I know what they mean, but I don't need them, and others might not know.
I've just been reading non-stop.
Just let me ask you some questions, Sam. What do you do, first of all?
I'm a estate agent.
You're an estate agent. I'm assuming you work in a estate agent's practice.
Yes, sir, a big one.
What is the nature of your disability, if you don't mind me asking?
It's ADHD long-term, and I've been diagnosed, and I've got a diagnostic letter that I produced to them when I joined the business, which clearly states that I'm a protected characteristic.
What adjustments do you want them to make?
So I said to them at the beginning, we'll try some stuff, but I'll come back to you. And now it's been 4 months that I'm in the business. Every time I've tried to, talk about it or get somewhere with it, they've provided a couple, which I'm grateful, but overall, it's just been a hesitancy of providing it.
Sam, back to the question. What adjustments do you want them to make?
So I've got a list of about 15, and these standing desk, moving my seat, controlling the music in the office so I'm not distracted, giving me regular breaks. A couple of them they have done. But I've also tried to be very astute in the way I'm asking them. I'm drawing it down to the symptoms of my disability, just a general understanding, sympathy. But I've got nowhere, to a point where they try to sort of set me up, and now it's gotten really bad.
Okay,
I've been
Sam. Sam, can I ask you some questions?
Sure.
First of all, the adjustments that you request and that an employer is obliged to give have to alleviate the symptoms of the disability. They have to make it easier for you to fit into the workplace and do your job.
Exactly.
In what way does a standing desk help someone with ADHD? It might do, but to me a standing desk would normally go with a physical disability.
Yes, so a standing desk will allow me to move as I'm doing my work, so it will give me sort of a stimulation that I need, because if I get bored, then my brain does not engage.
Right, why can't you move if you're sitting at a desk? Why can't you stand up?
I can, but it's something that was, said they were going to do, but they haven't done it for 4 months. That's not really important. The most important is that it's gotten to a point where...
Right, tell me, Sam, don't tell me the ones that aren't important. Tell me the one that is important. What's the critical adjustment you need made?
The controlling of the music and the managers to only control the music. I've raised the grievance, and now I am suspended, and they haven't even got occupational health involved yet.
Okay.
But now I'm facing suspension, probably a disciplinary. So I've approached ACAS, I opened the case, I've been backing up everything to myself, and I'm just terrified. I just want some advice.
Right.
I have legal home protection as well, and legal employment cover.
Good. Right. First of all, what do you want me to talk to you about? Do you want me to talk to you about the adjustments, or do you want me to talk to you about the grievance, or about the suspension? It sounds like you're throwing a lot at me. I need a little bit of focus.
Yes. The reasonable stuff, I know that already. It's what I do now. I'm suspended. They're investigating some bogus charges.
Right.
I've raised the grievance against the...
Sam, please let me ask you a question. What are the grounds for the suspension?
So when I joined the business, I didn't want to tell them about my disability, and I wanted the automatic vehicle. I made a fake doctor's letter.
Sorry, you made a fake what letter?
A doctor's letter.
You faked a doctor's letter, okay.
Yes. And a second thing they found was I'm a director of a company which I completely forgot about, that's completely dormant, but they're putting that against my employment contract. The company's never traded. I've never filed anything on it.
Yep.
And
does your employment contract say you're not allowed to be a director of a company?
It says you can't engage or have shares or be director, but the wording is you can't engage. I've never engaged in it. It's just been sitting there.
I've never, I totally get that you can't engage, you can't work in a competing business or another business, which you're not doing. It's very common to have clauses saying you shouldn't have more than a 5% shareholding in a company. I've never heard of a clause saying you can't be a director of a company.
That's what it says there. And also, I was thinking of maybe the company nature, I'm going to change it so it doesn't say real estate.
So it doesn't say what, sorry?
Real estate activity. I'm even going to close it down, to be honest.
So your company's registered at Companies House as an estate agency?
At Services for Estate Agency, yeah. I've set it up and completely forgot about it, to be honest with you.
Okay. You couldn't have forgotten. If you're a director, you have to file annual returns. How would you forget that?
I've missed. It happens with ADHD. It's not in front of me. Short-term memory.
You get regular letters from Companies House reminding you.
Yes, they do. I don't often open letters.
Are you telling Sam? I'm going to be blunt here. Are you telling me the truth here when you said you'd forgotten about it?
100%. I completely. It's not like I was forgetting it on purpose. It just wasn't. I just didn't know to think about it. I love my job. I love my team.
Because there's a difference, isn't there? There's a difference between knowing you're a director and forgetting to declare it, or forgetting that you're a director. I believe the first one's
forgetting
possible.
to declare it, I should say, probably that. I did not even read the contract when I signed it, probably.
And in terms of faking a doctor's letter, what did the doctor's letter say?
I got back problems, so I could get an automatic vehicle.
So what did you do? You faked the letterhead, you faked the text, and you signed it as a GP?
Yeah.
Fine. I'd sack you for that, Sam.
Okay. All right, but then I'll still have a discrimination claim or not?
Well,
because they've not gone to occupational health.
Yeah.
They've refused
they have an obligation to make reasonable adjustments. They don't have an obligation to go to occupational health. If they don't go to occupational health, it's harder for them.
Does the ACAS guidelines say that, there's certain ways you have to deal with matters?
ACAS guidelines are just that. They're guidelines. They're not law. If they don't go to occupational health, it's harder for them to justify a failure to make reasonable adjustments. But not going to occupational health isn't of itself against the law. Frankly, Sam, I think having worked for 4 months, they've got very good grounds to dismiss you. You fake a doctor's letter.
Do you think that's a gross misconduct? But the only reason I did it was because I didn't feel comfortable disclosing my disability. I've got a disabled badge for driving a car, automatic
100%,
vehicles.
Sam. You can't. I'm sorry. You must know this. ADHD does not justify faking doctors' letters, faking letterheads, faking
it's just I didn't want to disclose my disability, and it was a mistake. But is it gross misconduct?
Yes. 100% it is. And it's possible that they failed to make reasonable adjustments, although you've said they have done some things. I don't think a standing desk is a reasonable adjustment for ADHD. I think that's an adjustment you make for a physical condition because you can.
To give one last thing, it's very important. I raised a grievance against the music thing. They come back to me with this. I'm now suspended. I've raised a grievance against them against discrimination, and this is where we're at. I'm waiting the pending of the investigation.
Okay, I'm just going to read you a couple of texts, if that's okay, Sam. Robert has texted, "Is this guy for real? He's faked a doctor's letter and says it's a bogus charge." G says, "I feel sorry for this guy's employer." Dave says,
"Sure. I mean, maybe that was a mistake, but putting that aside, is it right?"
Apart from that, Mrs. Lincoln, how was your night at the theatre?
Talk to me about badgers.
Right, I agree with Brian, mate, 100%. Right, what I said to your producer was vaccinate these badgers, right, ship them out to the Falklands or take them to the Shetland Islands. You don't need to kill them. And when it comes to deers...
put the badgers on the Shetland Islands?
Yeah, why not?
Well,
what's wrong with that? Well, better than killing them, isn't it?
Yeah, but I mean, people live on the Shetland. It's not like they're sort of abandoned item. You just sort of move the problem, wouldn't you, if you move it to the Shetland Islands?
Well, no, you spread them about around the world and stuff like that, you know.
But people might not want our badgers. If we get on the phone to the... Well, go on.
You can't send them out to countries like China and things like that because they'd probably bloody eat them.
Well,
you know?
I don't know if that's necessarily the case, but we can't just start flogging our badgers to everyone. They might not want them. We can't just stick them on the Falkland Islands, can we? It's a completely different climate.
You said earlier, right, on the radio, that it's costing £400, right, to shoot one badger.
Yeah.
Yeah? And it's £82 to vaccinate them. Yeah?
Yeah.
So where's the brains in that? In that?
I agree. And actually what's interesting is the culling cost we have to pay, whereas the farmers normally pay the vaccination cost. I take your point. Look, I don't want to see badgers cold, but I just don't...
Look, I'll go on to another subject, right?
Go on then.
Regarding deers, yeah?
Yeah.
Now, I used to drive, right, from Croydon, and I used to come down Ashdown Forest.
Yeah, very nice part of the world. Yep.
Yeah, Winnie the Pooh and all that. But I've seen stags, right, standing on the side of the road as I drove down, and I always prayed that no one would come out in front of me, because I know that they're so heavy, they'll smash my car up. You know, but the thing is, the same with deers. Yeah, why don't we ship them out? Why do we have to kill them? Because I tell you what, right? Let me tell you this, right? One of your presenters was interviewing someone, right, and they said, right, what we'd do, we'd cull the deers, right, and we'd give the food to the kids at school.
Well,
That's
I don't know.
criminal,
Well, I don't know who said that, but can we not get into who said that and who didn't? The point is, because they're not here to defend themselves, and I didn't hear it. But I genuinely, Stephen, I'm not trying to mess with you. You can't just ship badgers out to the. I mean, how expensive is it going to be to? We've killed 230,000. There are thousands of badgers. You can't just put them on a plane and ship them to the Falklands or on a boat.
Why can't we put them into sanctuaries? Why can't we put them into sanctuaries? Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of them. That's the problem. We've killed 230,000 badgers in the last 10 years. You can't stick them in sanctuaries.
There's a big hole round the corner for me. If I come out of my house and I walk round the corner, right, there's a big hole there, right? And sometimes about 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, when I get dropped off in a minicab, right, I see the old badger running across the road, you know?
Yeah.
And it's just lovely to see.
Yeah, I know. Well, no, and again, I don't think no one dislikes the badger because I mean,
no one everyone wants to kill Bambi, doesn't they?
No, of course they don't. This is farmers who have a problem with the spread of TB, which again is disputed. But
right? I've had a business, right, and sometimes, right, you have to take precautions, and you've got to do what you got to do to protect your farm, but don't kill animals. Yeah.
Okay. Just send them on holiday.
I eat meat, yeah. I'm not a vegetarian, right? But I just don't like the cruelty. Why does everyone have to feel that they have to kill everything?
Yeah, no, and it's a good attitude to have, I would say, Steve.
How are you? All right?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah, well, I have heard such nonsense as that last caller before, because that's what you get. You get an answer, but you don't really get anything out of them, any substance about immigration, and you don't feel safe walking down the street. So I'll tell you about my experience of immigration, because all this nonsense, I don't see it. See, I'm 55. Been a doorman for 20 years in my community. I look like a doorman. I know what I look like. But I'll tell you now, you have to make adjustments. Of course you do, to people that may be different, maybe have come from a different world. You do make adjustments. Like I sometimes when I walk down the street, I'll see some Asian women, some Muslim women, and they're a bit nervous because the way I look. So I deliberately give them a nice big smile. I'll say to them, "Good morning, young ladies, how are you?" Just to make them at ease. Yeah. But I'll tell you my experience of immigration. I'm 55. Now, I remember when I was a young nipper in the 80s, because this is the language I'm hearing. I haven't heard, I did start hearing it with the Brexit thing, but since the 80s. And this is my experience. See, my experience is this. In the 80s, the Jamaicans and the Bajans and all the West Indians and who I went to school with and their mums and dads had come over in the 60s, and they were our bus drivers and our nurses, and look at, they're part of our community now, and we're proud, and they're proud. You see them wearing England tops, in the 80s they supported West India. Today, cricketers, they all support the England team because they see themselves in the England team. So that's a fantastic. So my other experience is, for Saturday night, I go for a nice Indian curry on a Friday. I have a kebab on the way home. I have culture, I have colour, I've learned things around the world, music. They've enriched my life, my community. When I say my people, because I love my country and I love my people, I'm talking about the people. Doesn't matter what colour, creed, religion you are. If you live in my community, if you're in this country, you are my people. We are together. And you're right. Where you see it, you've got to call it out. I remember with the Brexit kicking off, I went for an Indian meal, I come out, and the first time I've heard it in 25 years, and the guy said to me, "I won't go in there, mate, buying that and there." I won't say exactly what he said, and I'll give it to him. I'll give him the verbals, and he got a shock of his life. And we are being told, and what upsets me more, what is really getting on me is, our problems and our daily lives and what we're going through has nothing to do with immigration. But the politicians they'll tell you that it is, especially one in particular. He'll tell you that the reason you've got problems with this, the NHS, that, you can't pay your bills, you can't do, is because of the people coming on the boats. And it's nonsense. It's absolute nonsense. We're together. We need to stick together. I'll tell you again another experience of my immigration. The Jubilee, God bless her soul, our dear Queen. On her Jubilee, I went to my local park where I walk my dogs 3 times a day in my community. I know 100 different ways to say hello. How are you? I went to the park. We had Neville, who sells his West Indian food there, giving it away for free. Reggae music and all the brothers sitting out drinking Red Stripe.
You had some Asian families down the corner giving out free curry all the day, their homemade food with their music and dancing and playing games. All the children in the park all day playing together. The firemen come. The local Polish community came and did their kielbasa on the barbecues. And I sit every morning having my skinny latte in Costa's with my doorman, my team, and my brothers, they're from all around the world, and we discuss it all the time. And you just got to keep talking. And my gift to my community, and I've said it all my life because my father said it and my granddad said it. My gift to my community are my children. And from the day that they were out on the street, they were taught how to think, how to say, how to accept people, difference, how to help, how to love, how to show kindness, how to tolerate, how to be tolerant, and to walk through life like a man, that your word means everything, and the way that you are every day in life means everything, and it shows the people around you. And no one asks me, no one says to me, are you a good dad? That's not for me, my children will know. Are you a good person? That's not for me. My friends and my community will tell you how they see me, because that's my actions. That's how I live my life.
Darren, I couldn't love you more.
Yeah, I'll get upset with it. It's bloody upsetting.
It is.
It's upsetting. In the 80s, my best mate, Tom, God bless his soul, he a West Indian fella, and I got a job, odd carrier. I was an odd carrier. I'll never forget this. I was an odd carrier. We went up there. It was £100 a day. It was big money in them days. And the geezers gave me a job. Anyway, they said to me later in the day, have you got anyone else you know, Darren? And Thomas was like a brick door, he was. And I said, I haven't got my mate. He said, bring him tomorrow. I said, all right. On the way home, normal, some racial jokes, whatever. What's your mate? I said, yeah, he's massive. Oh, yeah, well, long he ain't black. That's when it's... Well, my heart sunk. So I got out. I said, well, he is actually. And I could tell. I could just hear the silence. And I got out. Anyway, I phoned my mate. I said, Tom, because there was no mobiles in them days. Tom, get over in the morning. Mum will make you some breakfast. I've got a job for you. £100. Boom, he was there in the morning. We went to the job. You could see the looks on her face. But 10 o'clock in the morning, first cup of tea, Jesus come to me, he said to me, "There's Dale, your mate." He said, he wasn't even man enough to say it himself. He said, your mate, he said, we don't really need, we're busy. I knew what he was doing.
Yeah.
He said, so he's off. So you tell him we don't need him. So I said, well, if you don't need him, you don't need me.
You don't need me either.
So he said, so me and Tom, we walked 5 miles home, and like my arm around him, and within 10 minutes we were talking nonsense on the way home and everything. And I'll never forget, I had to go to him and tell him that he didn't. I'll never forget the day I die. Yeah. His face, the look on his face, and I knew, and I was hoping that stuff would all fade away as time and generations go. And it breaks my heart now when we see people scared and vilifying people because of they've come here to try to work hard. They've left their families from the other side of the world,
or even those who were born here, Darren. Even those who were born here.
And those that were born here, and that's what I'm talking about. My people, there are people. We're all together. It's just, and it's all nonsense. And you're right. When you challenge them, when I see it on X, and I say, where did you get that from? None of them have got any facts. It's all myth.
And actually, what you're showing, Darren, and I must leave it there, but I could listen to you for the rest of the afternoon. What you're demonstrating, illustrating there, is proper heart and soul. That's what you've put into your friendships and your neighbourliness and your community over the years, and into your children, and they'll carry it on. That's what you have done.